You never want to compete with kids or animals, I think, on a stage. It's so fantastic to be back here in Madison, and here in a town that has a fantastic cable station. Can we hear it for your local community cable station? Can we hear it for WORT? I don't know where you would be, but I know where I would be if it wasn't for the independent media in this town and around the country, and that wouldn't be very far. I would be sitting at home being frustrated, unable to get anybody to publish anything or broadcast anything. If we didn't have our independent media, we wouldn't know each other. Wouldn't that be sad? So if you haven't sent in your subscription yet, or done your best to work for the survival of your community cable station, do it as soon as you get home. All right, so I was appreciating John Nichols reminding us where we were, because I don't quite think I understand what's going on here in Wisconsin. I have been hearing rumors that a guy who I think of as something of a hero in these times is fighting a tough fight. I've heard that a guy that is for campaign finance reform, who was against the Iraq War, a guy who was the only guy to stand up, or woman to stand up in the Senate against the Patriot Act. I've been hearing that a guy who was against NAFTA from before, when Rahm Emanuel was just really getting his skates on in favor of NAFTA, a guy who was against NAFTA, who was against DOMA, who was against the bank bailout, and a guy who was against and voted against the confirmation of Timothy Geithner. I've been hearing that that guy is fighting a tough fight. So maybe we should just, I'm sure he wouldn't mind. Would you mind? I don't think he'd mind if we just renamed it for this one time, Fighting Rustfest. And I'm really glad I'm up on the stage here with a lot of smart guys tonight. They are old guys, but anyway. A lot of smart guys, because I'm really having a hard time making sense of politics. With rumors like that, there are also rumors that the likely opponent of that aforementioned guy is a moneybags millionaire who said, and hoped to get credit for saying this, said that he sold BP stock in order to run for the Senate. Not because there was blood on it, not because there was oil on it, not that because there was the dead ecosystem of entire Gulf of Mexico on that BP stock, but because he wanted to run against Russ Feingold. And that this man, this moneybags millionaire, has been endorsed by Jim DeMint of Americans for Prosperity fame. And just in case you forget where you've heard that Americans for Prosperity thing, they're the ones who brought you the Tea Partiers. And they're the ones who say that they're the People's Party, but they're for ending Social Security, ending Medicare, opposing internet freedom, opposing funding for public education. They stood up against state funding that was going to keep 300,000 public teachers employed. They're against Wall Street reform because that would be onerous on the banks, but they're okay with keeping all the burdens on mortgage owners, even those whose mortgages are underwater. That those people, who are, most of them middle-aged, with kids in public school, they use the internet, and they have mortgages, that those people are running against fighting Russ Feingold? I mean, maybe there's a reason that I'm foggy about the news. It could be that every time I turn on the TV in the last week, some character from Gainesville has been on there. Terry Jones, I thought, was a character in Monty Python. In fact, I really am doing my best to get the real Terry Jones to respond to that other one on GRITtv this week, so keep an eye out. There's only one reason that story took off. There's only one reason that story from Gainesville took off this week, and that's because, not because of one nut in Florida, but because of a media narrative in Washington. And it's a narrative we should be very used to by now, because it's coming to us from people who would like to continue the Bush administration by other means. Remember the era of Bush where the guy couldn't get in front of a camera without saying 9/11, 9/11, 9/11? That was the era of fear and fright and we must fight. And the same people that were behind Bush are behind this message today. And that's what was the message coming out of Florida, was less that there was going to be a burning of the Qurans, but more that there was going to be a backlash because, well, we have the army of radical Islam at the borders about to invade and impose Sharia law on us all. This is the story that's been coming to us from those who have been in office backing the Bush way of doing things since before Bush was in office and are still there today. And if they're not in office, they're manning and womaning the media and the banks that are bankrolling it and the corporations that are bankrolling this message. And these are the folks who would have you focus on those who are threatening you, the fear, fright, and fight message, while your pocket is being pickpocketed by the interests that are bankrolling them. These are the people